Now, we're going to talk about emotions and feelings with some experts from Akron Children.
We have Monica Cunningham and Dr. Mapes here with us today. Welcome. Can you tell us what your specialty is and what do you do?
I'm Monica Cunningham. I am a community health educator teaching the Nurturing Families program to parents that have children 0 to 5.
And I'm Dr. Ayla Mapes. I'm a pediatric psychologist at Akron Children, so I work with children and families providing mental and behavioral health treatment. So I teach them how to cope with feelings, change your thoughts, learn about the connection between our physical and mental health, and teach parents tips for working with their kids on challenging behaviors or just interacting with their kids.
Well, thanks for joining us. In our episode today, we saw a lot of different emotions and feelings. What can you tell us about them?
Well, we all have them, and we have so many different feelings. Can you name some feeling words?
Disappointed.
Melancholy.
Good
You
one.
stole my word.
Yes, those are great words.
Upset.
Upset, yes.
Sad, mad.
Or maybe even all of those at once, right? We can have them all at the same time. And they can feel really big and really intense sometimes, or heavy. So I like to categorize feelings as heavy or light. Some heavy feelings might be anxiety, sadness, fear, and light feelings might be happy or joy or excitement, surprise. And sometimes when we have heavy feelings, we want to ignore them and pretend they're not happening. But then that makes them bigger and it makes them last longer. So when we have heavy feelings, we want to name the feeling. We want to rate it. So is it big? Is it small? We want to pay attention to how it makes us feel in our body. So maybe our stomach hurts or our head hurts or our heart is racing and we're hot. And then we can learn coping skills to manage those feelings, like deep breathing, like you learned about earlier.
Yes, so for our little ones, our infants, toddlers, and preschoolers, they don't yet know what all these feelings are or what's happening inside of their bodies. If something, if their shoulders get tight, maybe they, want to cry and they don't understand why they want to cry. It's really important for parents to label the feelings that they think that their child is having. And so over time, then it starts to educate the child that that's the word that's attached to the feeling that they're having.
We saw some difficult feelings in the acting out emotion segment and wondered, do we experience big emotions differently at different ages?
I would say we experience emotions differently no matter the age. But of course, we can have different feelings and react to them differently when we're different ages. That's why it's so important to name the feeling and learn what it is for you so that you can communicate it. But little kids, they might not have the words to communicate it, so they might act it out, right? Like yelling or not listening, whereas a teenager might get more quiet, a little bit angry, or not want to hang out with people. But even two teenagers might not experience emotions the same way or show them the same way. That's why it's really good to talk about it in your family.
Right, and so for our little ones, they don't have the vocabulary, they don't yet maybe have the communication to be able to express what they're feeling. So like Dr. Mapes said, sometimes their behavior, some acting out behavior, hitting or hurting others. We're going to see a lot of those behaviors happening in the home. And it's really important for the parents to be just curious of what's going on with their kids to understand what their feelings are.
What's the best thing to do when a young kid is having an epic tear-filled meltdown in the middle of the cereal aisle?
Well, Lily, that is a great question because we know as parents there is probably no chance that we're going to get out of toddlerhood or preschool years without seeing a temper tantrum or a meltdown, especially if the child is hungry, tired, in a new environment. It's very age appropriate for our little ones to have meltdowns. It's important for parents to have a plan in place when that happens. Above all, start out by being calm. Stay calm. If you raise your voice, they're going to raise their voice. Label the feeling that you think that they're having. Say that to them. I see that you're angry. You're upset that you're not getting that cereal. We're not going to buy that cereal today. So it's okay for you to be angry. You're allowed to cry. We're going to go ahead and continue our grocery shopping now. So I need you to hold on to the cart or hold my hand and we're going to finish up shopping and then we'll go home and tell them what you're going to do next, something to look forward to. Give them a chance to respond. If they don't, hopefully you have an opportunity to take them to the restroom and let them have a chance to calm down in the restroom. But again, remain calm, use age-appropriate language, and keep labeling the emotion that you think that they're having.
And I really like that you gave the example of kind of forced choices. So it's telling them what to do instead of stop that, don't quit. Right? So you can hold my hand or you can grab the card. You're giving them a choice, but you're kind of giving them something that they need to do in that moment.
Yeah, it's like the only two things. It's like you do this or this.
Right.
Yes.
But above all, we want to remind parents, do not give in to what they're upset about. Because if we do, that's
Okay.
basically rewarding them for that behavior.
Yeah.
And it's going to encourage them to do it the next time.
Okay, fine. Just take the cereal. Stop crying. Like,
Yeah, because then every time we see cereal and we want it, big emotions,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We heard that when you're little, big emotions can feel like they're permanent. Do you have any advice to help kids when they're feeling that way?
Good question. Emotions are naturally fleeting. They don't last very long, but they can feel like they do. And they can feel really intense and uncomfortable. And so that's why it's good to have a whole bunch of different coping skills to manage those different feelings. I like to think of coping skills like tools for life. Like you're a construction worker and you have a construction belt, right? And you have your different tools on there, like a hammer or a screwdriver for different situations. We want to have the same kind of tool belt for life. So tools might be deep breathing for anxiety, or maybe going for a walk or exercising for sadness, or talking to an adult. Those are all the tools you want to keep adding and trying different ones to figure out what works. Another important thing to remember about how long emotions last is that they are related to how we think, what we are telling ourselves in moments. So let's say you have a stressful situation at school, makes your anxiety go way up, but then the situation ends and anxiety comes back down. But then you go home and you think about it over and over and wish it had gone different and wish you had said something different. What's going to happen to anxiety? It's going to go back up, right? And so you're going to make that emotion happen all over again. And so you need to notice that you're doing that. Talk to an adult about it, or even kind of engage in an activity that takes your mind off of it, like a fun activity.
Yeah, and so parents with young children, if they are labeling the feeling that they're seeing all day long in their child, so I see that you're angry, I see that you're upset, just talking about emotions all day long is really going to start to teach them that their emotions are going to ebb and flow. And so say they had a meltdown earlier in the day, now we're sitting at lunch and we're laughing and we're having fun. We can say something like, hey, remember just a little bit ago, you were really upset because your block tower kept falling over. Now look at us, we're having fun. And so when we continue to label and then just talk about what was happening throughout the day, I think it teaches our kids those feelings aren't permanent.
That makes lots of sense. Rhys and I did some fun challenges around emojis and text. And we wondered if there are any tips you have for avoiding miscommunication.
Yes, because miscommunication happens a lot with text messages, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't have all the same information that we get when we're talking like this, right? Like my tone of voice or my body posture. So for example, if I said, that's cool, or I said, that's cool, probably different, right? Different meanings, different feelings.
Yes.
And so you miss all of that in a text message. You could interpret it either way. And so you might want to, when you're sending a message, make sure it's clear. Maybe add a smiley face or a sad face to show what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Or when you're on the end where you're getting the text message and you're not sure what it means, ask. Was this a good text, bad text? How are we feeling? Or when you see them in person, hey, I didn't understand that text. Can you explain it? And so then you can avoid those miscommunications.
Today we saw skits where kids were missing out on fun and feeling peer pressure. Do you talk with kids about those feelings?
Of course. In those situations, kids feel all kinds of heavy feelings like sadness or disappointment or maybe even worry. And it might be because of the way we're thinking about the situation. Are we worried that people aren't going to like us if we don't go? And if that's the case, is that thought true? Are people really not going to be your friend because you can't go to this event? Are there events that you maybe have missed in the past and they still like you? And when we have thoughts like that, another trick is to think about what you would say to a friend when they're having that thought. How would you comfort them? And then you can say it to yourself to try to help change your thoughts, which will help change how you feel.
We also saw a skit where a kid was cut from a sports team, even though they worked hard for it. How do we deal with moments like that?
Being cut from a sports team could make you feel all kinds of ways. What feelings might it bring up?
Anger.
Anger, yeah.
Disappointment.
Yeah, anger and disappointment and sadness, maybe worry, all those feelings at once. And then we can think about how can we cope with those feelings in the moment, but then also What are my beliefs about the situation? Do I believe that I'm a failure all the time? Is that true? Are there so many things I'm actually really good at? What other goals can I make instead of this?
So what's great for our little children is they're learning so much all the time and so quickly. So parents can really set up opportunities to teach about resilience and failure. So whether it is providing a child with an age-appropriate toy like a puzzle, maybe the child's doing really well matching the picture to where it's supposed to go, but can't get it into the slot, right? We can say something like, "Great job, you're working so hard. I can see that you're really trying." And then we just help them be successful in getting that puzzle piece in the slot. Playing board games is another really great way to teach our kids that we don't always win.
I love board games.
Me too.
Are there any other tips or advice you have for kids related to emotions or feelings?
It's good to remember that we all have them, right? Even adults. And they're not just in our mind, they're in our body. So they can make physical symptoms happen, right? Like that feeling really hot or your heart racing. And we want to learn coping skills and talk about them so that we can control our emotions instead of our emotions controlling us and running our actions and behaviors. If emotions get so big so often that it's causing a lot of distress or getting in the way of school or being able to make friends or have fun, then maybe it's time to talk to a counselor or a psychologist. Because then you can kind of learn additional skills. And some psychologists also help with the physical symptoms too. So we have psychologists who work with you to manage pain or headaches or stomach aches and sleep. And all of those things are things we can learn skills to make it a little bit easier.
And so I really encourage parents to remember that all feelings are great. All feelings are important. There's not good feelings or bad feelings. They're all important. And so we want to remember to remain calm, be patient, and use age-appropriate language when we're talking with our kids about their feelings.
Now we're going to test your emo IQ. That means emotional intelligence. We'll ask you questions about conversations with kids, and you have to choose the right answer. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay.
You text your teen about how their test went today. Which response says they're unhappy about it? A is good, B is a thumbs up emoji, C, don't worry about it, or D, they left you on red.
D.
Yeah, I agree, D.
Woo, yeah, you got it.
You tell your child that tonight's dinner is pizza. Which response means they are excited? A, it's fine, B, bet, C, again, D, not hungry.
Bet.
Bet, for sure.
Bet.
I don't know if I've ever heard a kid say,
No
no
again.
pizza.
Pizza again.
You ask your kid, how was school today when they get home? They just say, fine, but are clearly upset. What do you do next? Say, you seem quiet. When you're ready, I'm here to listen. B, ask open-ended questions. C, give them space and try again later. Or D, all of the above.
Ooh, I would say all of the above.
Yeah, same, all the above.
Yeah. Drum roll.
Yeah.
Yay, you got it!
Correct. Yeah, I think all of those are really good responses to a teen who comes home has had a rough day. Sometimes a teenager needs you to ask them some open-ended questions so they can talk and process it. But sometimes they need to just have some space to calm down, and then they can come to you on their own terms. But letting them know that you see them, but then you're going to wait for them when they're ready to talk to you is honestly the best thing to do.
Thanks for answering our questions. If anyone watching has more questions about feelings or emotions and would like to ask an expert, just message us on Facebook or Instagram.
Thank you both for being a part of our show and answering our questions about feelings and emotions.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.